Yes, I give thanks for life. We're back again on the other side. And as I've said earlier, we've got the great A.J. Varma all the way from America. Which part of America are you from, A.J.?
No, Tampa, Florida.
Tampa, Florida. Yeah. Which part of America are you from, brother?
I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Okay, enough respect, man. I wasn't trying to swap in positions. You can come back, you know, bro. I was just asking. But, you know, we've got the great A.J. Varma, but first we've got also the great Pastor Wright, both of the Qubtic Church. A.J. Varma's in England for the time. Pastor Wright, I want to ask you, my brother.
How you doing, my brother?
Yes.
Before we start, let me say namaste, because as we always greet everyone out there, meaning we bow to the divinity in all of you. That's a greeting that we say as Atonist Christians within the Holy Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah. So let me greet all those listening and thank you, Minty, for allowing us to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here on Conscious Radio and to be talking to the public.
Thank you very much for coming, brother. We appreciate your presence, both of you. Well, so what I'd like to ask you, King, is that we've got the great A.J. Varma and yourself speaking. There's an event happening on Saturday. What's the event about, and what can we expect from both you and A.J. Varma?
Well, the event is actually called International Cultural Day, and as this is the beginning of our new year, because what we don't realize is that we've been governed by a Greco-Romanized system, and that they'll bring the new year in December, bring it into January, which is their winter time, which when you look at winter time, you've got to realize that's death into death. So somebody is enjoying the death cycle. We bring the new year in when it's life into life. And life into life is what they would call the summer. So when you reach into what's known as a summer solstice, that's the beginning of life. And that's the beginning of our new year as we are alive. We are people that have life. So it's our International Cultural Day throughout the world. The Holy Qubtic Church puts on an event straight after our fasting period. And at that point, what we call Rage Sunsana, after that fasting period, within this time now, we have a festive season. So we're celebrating. Now this event is actually bringing in Reverend Dr.A.J. Varma, who is the Basesh, the head of our church, head of our Kanisa, and he'll be speaking on the African Zodiac, Your Sign, Your Power. He's the main keynote speaker. I'll be there as well, talking on, let me give you the exact title, it's called The Destructive Frequency of Modern Music. So between the two of us, we'll be touching on things that's going to affect our people, or that is affecting our people today. Because a lot of our people are caught up on the zodiac sign, and a lot of our people are caught up on music and not realizing that music has changed over the years and it's affecting us. So we'll be talking on these sort of topics.
Okay, so it'll be about musical vibrations, you're saying, bro?
That's what I'll be teaching on, and like I said,
sure.
And when Rev comes in...
No, we'll talk about the solar biology, we'll talk about the musical vibrations. Well, what in the music, what has changed in our music, bro, that has changed?
Well, through time, it's... For instance...
You know what question I'm going to ask?
I feel your vibrations.
Good.
We're working, right? Through time, if you've noticed, music is constantly changing. Our parents used to listen to us and say to us, what kind of music that we have? What kind of modern music that? Do you remember our parents used to say that to us? Now could you imagine what they'd be saying if my father was alive and he's listening to the youth them today? He would have no connection to that music. So music is changing. We often said when we were growing up, and I know the youth who say, yeah, but that's old time. I know they're going to think this, but we used to say, we used to have a reggae chart, a hip hop chart, a soul chart, an R&B chart, right? A calypso chart. We had all these, a soca chart. We had all these different charts which we would chart in our own music, and we were controlling our own music. So what happened? Where did all these charts go? Or did something take place where we now all wanted to become pop? Meaning we had something that was called a crossover, and you'd have a reggae music, for instance, and they would want it to cross over, because if it crossed over in the pop chart, what would that mean? It mean you get more money. So all of a sudden, change in the music, and most of the music that crossed over had to have a little change in the frequency of sound. It had to have a little change in the rhythm. It had to sound a bit more whitish. It had to, so they, to make sure that the public would appreciate it. There's one and two which was authentic, that made its way across, and then you had people that would say, well, okay, let's try and make this sound. And in making this sound, we were diluting our vibrations, diluting our music. So we started to change the frequency of our music. We started to change how our music sound in order to enter into what was called a popular world, the pop music. So as we wanted it to become more popular, we changed our frequency. In changing the frequency, not realizing that it was actually affecting you. No different than if you eat the wrong foods, what does it do? It affects your body, because the food goes in your body and does what? In your digestive system, in your blood, and affects you. If you're watching the wrong visuals, it goes into your eye, into the retinas, and it goes straight into the brain, affecting the frequency. If you're listening to the wrong sounds, it's going into your ears and going into your brain and affecting the frequency. Everything that you touch affects your body, and people that understand this know that if they can manipulate the things that you touch, they can manipulate you. So by changing the frequency of music, changing the sound of the music, can we change the way you think? Yes, we can. And these are the things that's been happening through our lives as things change. If we go back through the years and look at what our fathers or our grandfathers were listening to what we were listening to now, you're going to say, well, yeah, but it's supposed to change, it's called progression, is it? So why centuries ago, when I listened to the drum beat and the African music, for centuries it remained the same, and all of a sudden now it's changed? Or is it because the culture that we're in has changed and we've been changing it with it? Is it because the religion that you believe in has changed and you've been changing with it? Or is it because the Bible or the books that you're reading has changed and you're changing with it? Or is it because the things that you're watching has changed and you're now changing with it? Something is changing us.
Psychologically and physiologically, African people have been changed.
Yes.
Not just through the music, bro, the food,
that's
and
what
the environment, and
everything
absolutely.
You touch. And if I can control what you touch, then I can control how you think and how you behave.
Absolutely, bro. And just to add to your point, bro, I remember watching the Zulu film. I think it's where they licked out the British at Rorke's Drift. Before they went to beat up the British, they went through a musical ceremony, banging drums, taking certain natural foods to feel. The Oracle gave a talk, and I wanted to fight the British after watching this. I was amped. Our music is spiritual, but from you said reggae was controlled by black people, hip hop was controlled by black people up until '92, when the big conglomerates took over. Not just the music, Bridget, but you noticed the films as well. Boys of Men,
remember,
New Jack City,
everything. And when they introduce MTV, right? Okay, you stay with it. When they introduced MTV to us, what did that also do? That also, because in every music that they put on MTV, what was you seeing? You were seeing half-naked women dancing. So now when I hear a record, what goes in my head? A half-naked woman dancing, because that's what I saw on MTV. And if that's what I'm seeing, then that's what I'm relating to. So when I'm hearing certain music, I'm now going, well, I'm seeing the girl winding up and shaking her butt and doing all kind of, what do they call it, what the girls am I doing now, what do they call it, twerking. Right?
You want to,
and they're twerking away, and so now you got this twerking image in your head, and you're hearing the music. So they're using what we call a spirit sex force to control you. And now they have you thinking sex all the time. So now when you see our sisters walking around half naked, dressed as we used to call prostitutes used to dress, you now see our people saying, oh, this is fashionable and it is sexy. Now, so women now, if you stop and say, sis, you look good, respect you. That's okay. But if you say, God, you look sexy, that is what would they call it?
Trigger, is it?
No.
Acceptable?
It's what you call it was offensive to us, it's now what?
Derogatory.
No, it's a compliment.
It's acceptable. It's a compliment. That's the word I was looking. Now, how could looking sexy being that it's a compliment? Somebody has moved what was good to a certain level. What we're trying to say is, not what we're saying is, if negative is running the planet, then everything that's negative, you're now saying, where is the good in negative? Okay, that's not as bad as this. So what is not as bad as this becomes positive, and what is bad, really bad, becomes negative. And what was really good becomes weird and outrageous. So the man that says, I don't drink at all, I don't smoke at all, you're weird. The man that says, well, I drink, but I don't smoke, I don't take drugs. Well, you're okay, but the man that takes drugs is really bad. When really, smoking is as bad as, and drinking is as bad as each other. They both affect the body and the mind. But we don't see that, so we've put a fulcrum point within negative and made negative become a positive and a negative. And it's done in such a subtle way that we don't see it. And they did this through music, the media, and every other thing that they used to touch. So we're going to be digging and delving into the music and how the music affects you and what the music is doing to you and how we can get away from this and make a change to help ourselves. These are the things that we'll be talking about in the day.
Okay then. Well, I just want to ask a question. A simple question, right? What's the way forward? What's the solution? Because I mean, what's happening out there? You know, we've highlighted a lot of these negative stereotypes. It's negative vibration was hitting us. Right? People listening say, well, yeah. But what's the solution? What's the way forward? You know?
Yeah, you know, when we say the way forward now, I'm an anatomist Karastia. And everyone says, is that a religion? Yes, it's a religion. Oh, I don't care about religion. I hear you, and I understand why you don't care about religion, because you've been taught that religion is bad because of the things that religion has done to us, because we've been given a Greco-Romanized religion, an Arabicized religion, a Judaist religion, and all these monotheistic religion that we've been given has not worked for our people. We haven't realized that there was an original religious structure that we had. There was an original religious way of life that we lived, and by this religion it controlled us. When we look towards the Hindu faith, do they have a religion? Yes. Do they respect each other? Yes. Is it working for them? Yes. When we look towards the Greek, should I say not the Greek, towards the Islam, do they have a faith? Is it working for them? Yes. Every religion has their faith, their culture, their way of life, and it's working to us. We don't have this. So we need a code, a conduct that we're all going to be obliged to respect each other with. And we say, okay, we're black people, but that's not enough, because some of us are black on the outside and not black on the inside. And you look at the person and you think you're talking to a Nubian Melanite person, but you're not talking to a Nubian Melanite person. You are not talking. But that's racist. Okay, call it what you want. The thing is, you're not talking to one of us. Everybody else looks out for their race. We've got to now realize we got to look out for our race. So we say the Atomic Karastian way, taking you back to our original way and our original culture, given to us originally by Asaru coming out of what we would say is Tamaray, resurrected by Ankhenaten, and re-put into place today by my brother Haro Tektar, better known as Dr. Amadou Varma, today the Basesh of our church. We understand that this is a code that we're now bringing to the people. So you ask, what is the way forward? That is part of the key. I say part of the key because that gives you what we would say, that code of religion.
So you're saying, sorry to jump in there. So you said the way forward really is to have a code and a religion.
A code, a religious, we say a religion because the religion binds you to a way of life.
Okay, fair enough.
It binds you to rules. It binds you to something that's going to benefit your people. It can be used against you if you don't understand. And if we let others, like how the Asians have used it against us, the Orientals have used it against us, the Caucasians have used it against us, and all these other races have used it against us to benefit themselves. If we don't say, hey, this is ours, and we're going to stand for what we are and make a difference, then we can't blame people for taking advantage of your naivety and your ignorance, and now you start using it. When you say what is the way forward, that's part of it. On Saturday, we're going to a lot more of how what and the solutions is, and it's not just about pushing religion. No, it's about creating an awareness of what's going on around you and how they're attacking you, and then we can start to fix it. But you will be given many solutions that would help you.
No, say that again. It's about having awareness
of what's around you and what's happening to you. If you don't see what's happening to you, then you won't want to fix the problem. But if you see that there is a problem, something's happening to you, and then we say, now let's try and sort this out. And then we will try and sort it out together. Now, when we say a Tony's Christian, do we say you all have to be a Tony? No, that's not what we're saying. We're here giving this remedy for those that want it this way. There's many other people that may not want it this way. And if you're a Rasta and you're happy as a Rasta, good luck, that's where you should be. If you're into Islam and you're happy, then good luck, that's where you should be. If you're a Christian and you're happy and you're a Christian, then that's where you should be. We're saying we've brought this forward for people that want to hear it and receive it and know it this way.
Okay then, I'm listening to you, and everything you're saying, you're really on point, and it really is a pleasure to have you in the studio here, my brother, because I've known you for a very short period of time, and one thing I would say that your heart's in the right place, but not only that, you work tirelessly in the community. Though people don't understand that, you only get about 3-4 hours sleep sometimes, and you work tirelessly, but coming back to the vet, but I think it'd be wise if we could bring in the AJ Farmer.
Why not? You're bringing buses.
Yeah, because I mean, wow, we've got a short time and we want as much juice out of it. You know what I mean? And earlier on, I did big him up, right? That we do have the great man AJ Farmer. Be coming in, he's in the house right now. I'm gonna feel him, so people don't feel him. I tell lie and my make up things, AJ Farmer, how you been, my brother?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah.
How you been, brother?
Yeah, man, give thanks, And again, it's a really pleasure to have you inside in the UK here at Conscious Radio, And I was saying to people that when, in fact, we did say that you've written several books, right? I didn't mention the numbers, right? But I know there's over 10, 20, 30 books you've written. How many books
Over 50. I stopped counting, I'm just too busy writing.
You see what I'm saying? The man wrote over 50 books.
But what I say to people is this: I don't walk around and I don't advocate walking around saying I wrote this many books, because just everything is between two book covers doesn't make it right. You can go to the library, you can go to most bookstores and find thousands of books. I think what should matter is what effect whatever message you're putting forth is having towards the people that you're gearing it to, as far as fixing their life or changing it. As my brother Pastor Wright, as you referred to, as he was just saying, when you look at the condition that our people are in, and with the event that's coming up, when we start speaking about the effects of music on us as a people, when we start to speak about soul biology, and you're saying like, what's the solution? The solution's already been given. It's been given by people like the great Marcus Moshe Garvey. It's been given by people like the great Elijah Muhammad. It's been given by people like the great Malachi Tumray. It's been given by so many, Pedro Campos, Marimba Annie, Francis Cress Wilson, Ivan Van Sitterman, Ben Yochanan, Henrik Clark. All of these greats, you follow, Shakenti Jia, all of these gave us the blueprint. But what happens oftentimes in the so-called conscious community is a solution is only doable if we're going to do it. What that means is, if I get a job working for Tesco or working for Asda, the first time I get hired, I go through a training program. And this program is to make sure that I understand the rules and regulations for the company that I'm going to be working for. What's acceptable, dress code, what's not acceptable. But then when we step out of that company into life, we don't want a dress code. We don't want rules. We don't want regulations. The people who are oppressing you have rules. The police department has rules. You know, they cover for each other. They know how to show up. They know how to kick you, how to stomp you, how to put the handcuffs on, how to get your head inside the car, how to book you in. There's a process. The fire department, how to come and put the fire out or not put the fire out. There's rules. We as a people, the problem is we've adapted other people's mindsets and are trying to apply it to ourselves. That doesn't work. We need rules that work for us as a people. Rules that are going to liberate us. Rules. So when we say solar biology is saying you are a biological being, a physical being, and you interact with your environment. In our indigenous cultures, we understood that. When a child was learning about science or nature, they were taken out into the woods, out into nature, and they touched the caterpillar, they touched the leaf, they touched the butterfly, they interacted. So it was a hands-on first, and then into the actual written text. Today everything is just memorization, so there is no relationship between the biological structure that we're in and nature. And if Einstein be correct, right, because they attribute it to him, where he says energy is neither lost nor destroyed but simply transferred from one body to the next, then whose energy has been transferred to us? How is it that we as indigenous people, natives of Caribbean, natives of South America, natives of North America, natives of what they call in Africa, natives of the Indus River Valley, how did we go from being on top to where we find ourselves today? Well, obviously we took on someone else's energy, someone else's mentality. And what you used the word earlier, you said stereotype. Well, stereotype is exactly what it sounds like. Stereotype, it's type of sound. So what they say of you and me, what we have come to believe based off of what they taught you and I about ourselves, we've now come to believe and accept other people's opinions and words about us to where we feel that we're not worth anything. You know, it's not going to work. Why even bother? You know, what's the point? No, the solution is, again, and that's why we say, we're not saying save every black person. That's an illusion. You can't save everybody. Anybody who says that, that's a fool's journey. Instead, we are saying those who want to get up off their butt. If Marcus Garvey can do this in 1913 with no internet, no cell phone, you follow? When Nubians were in we were in far worse as far as treatment, direct treatment condition, and he was able to accomplish it. Elijah Muhammad did it in 1934. Pedro Campos liberated Puerto Rico. Arturo Schomburg. All of these great women and men globally were able to do these things without the technology we possess today. But they had rules, they had guidelines, they had structure. If we don't have rules, if we don't have guidelines, if we don't have structure, then there is no way forward.
Right.
You follow? Because just merely saying we're going to march, we've been marching since 1400. But then when the Zulu or the Ashanti or the Mandinka or the Igbo or the Afar or the Effendi or Cherokee, Mandan, Choctaw, Mohawk, when they marched, it was with purpose. They weren't just marching to go march and march back home. They were marching to push back. They were marching to establish a line in the sand. They were marching to establish in the other person's mind, you don't want to come here. But we're just marching to hope that someone's going to hear you cry. How can the people who kidnapped you and enslaved you, whether it was the Arab slave trade, the East Indian slave trade, or the Caucasian slave trade, how can those who enslaved you hear you speak and cry, and you really think they're going to react to it when the condition you're in is a result of them hearing you scream and cry? Doesn't make sense. We have to do like every other group of people have done. Do for ourselves. It's not something I'm saying. Elijah Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Pedro Campos, they all said the same thing. Do your own. Do your own. And once you do that, they have to respect. What do I mean your own? We need, Dr. Ben said there's a need for a black Bible.
That's right.
They said we have to have our own culture, our own religion, our own dress code, how we shake each other's hands. So when we shake hands, we do this. We grab here. People say, why you grab your arm? I said, if you were falling off a building, you want me to grab your hand or you want me to grab your arm? Which one? If you want me to, why? Because it's a better grip. So we have to change, but he taught us to shake like this. The Chinese bow. The Koreans bow. The Japanese bow. You follow? Other cultures have different ways, but we've fully embraced this bleaching. Our minds have been bleached. And I'm talking about in the conscious community. I'm talking to people who say they know better. Well, if you know better, do better. If you know better, show better. And you show not by your words only, but by putting those words into action. So we're talking, we say, rel, sell, what? Religion, economics, law, sex, gender, education, sex, gender, education, law, I should have said labor, right? War, security, entertainment, and politics. Your religion is the first and most important thing. This is written by a man called Dr. Neely Fuller, who was introduced to the world by a woman named, who we call one of our Qubtic female popes, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. You follow? And he introduced this principle, where we have taken this principle and said, let's implement it. What does that mean? If you don't control your spiritual practices and ideas, you're finished. If you're looking and you're praying to something that doesn't look like you, you're finished. If you are praying to something and hoping that something outside of you can come in and change you, you're finished. Solar biology says you, like the sun, are alive. You, like the sun, are burning certain elements. Thereby, you are a terrestrial sun force or being that has the same power to have things move around you and interact with it. I'm not talking about Sagittarius and Leo and all that Greek crap. We're talking about taking the powers of the sun, like a plant does, takes photosynthesis, and taking the power that the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the wind, the water, the fire has given to us and putting it to work. You follow? But that means we got to get back with nature. And I'm not talking spook nature, I'm talking nature insofar as what is our actual nature.
I just want to ask a question. I can probably Supreme Jammers want to come in and mint it. But I want to ask a question. Your thing about spirituality. I wonder if you can break down what, from your perspective, what is spirituality? Because that word is bouncing all over the place.
The problem is this: when you say spirituality, you have to ask in accordance to what language and what culture. Okay. If we're using the word spirituality today, they are using the English word spirituality is from the word spiritus, and they'll say it means personality. If you go to the Hebrew or the Aramaic or the Arabic, you use the word nefs. It means personality, nephesh, in Hebrew. So when we're speaking of personality or spirit or spiritual practices, a person or a people's spiritual practices has to directly liberate to changing their condition. If you're worshiping that which doesn't look like you cannot, and I'm not the first to say it, Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, so many of them say it, you cannot worship the same God of those that have enslaved you. You have to worship a God that's in your image and after your likeness. Because you were created in that God or goddess' His image and likeness. You have to call on forces in you. We're not talking about looking up to the sky. We understand space is out there. We're talking about looking inside. Yahya Santiwa didn't liberate the great Ashanti stool by looking outside. She looked inside. Queen Nzinga didn't liberate the people of Angola by looking outside. She looked inside. The power you're seeking is to reconnect to the thing that's in you. But someone has us connecting to that which is outside. Anything outside of you can't help you. If someone breaks in your house tonight, and you sit in the corner and say, oh God, please don't let them find me in this room, you're probably going to get found and get robbed. But if you say, let me get on the phone, make a few phone calls, now I'm in here by myself, where's that baseball bat? Where's something I've got to push back? That's connecting with something inside.
But I just want to ride here because even yesterday I was having a discussion with a virgin of mine, right? A good friend, and you know, Christians, hardcore Christian, right? And he was telling me that God's in the sky. So I said, Bridget, people go up there every day, you know. How come we never see God up there?
Yeah, I was just in a plane this morning. And we were at about 30-something thousand feet. And I didn't see it. I saw clouds. I didn't see clouds. Didn't see no angels. Didn't see no God. But again, that's a Eurocentric idea.
Yeah, right.
The idea of, and that's because of Zeus worship. Remember, the Greeks had a religion called Hellenism. And it was the worship of the Greek pantheon, headed by Zeus. It was a patriarchal system that they introduced to the world, and out of it comes monotheism through the conquest of Alexander the Greek. We are saying the power of the divinity is in you. That's no difference than those who read the Bible. That's no difference than what Jesus said. I and my Father are one. When you see me, you see the Father. If I'm in the Father, the Father's in me. And they stopped there, and he said another piece, and I'm in you and you're in me.
So God's really within.
I'm not going to say God, because the moment I say God, now I'm back in Germany. Good. I'm going to say the power of the divine is in you. Now, how do you reach that power? That's what we're talking about.
Right.
And what does that power say? That power says, like every other creature in nature, like every other nationality, like every other race of people, we want the right to self-determination and the controlling of our own destiny. But in order to get that, you don't ask for it. You don't take it. You simply become it. See, asking for it is waiting for someone. Taking it implies that you're threatening to go hurt someone. Simply becoming it, if we're in this room, and they said everything outside this room has been destroyed, and we have water in here, and we have air in here, and we have plant lives in here, then we can now take control of our own destiny and begin to grow food and prepare. You follow? If we're talking liberation, if we're talking global endarkenment or enlightenment and changing the course that we're on, then we have to step away from just merely talking and step into food security, you know, water security, things that are necessary like all other people have. That's all we're saying. Lawlessness for an African, because it's contrary to the African traditional system.
Bro, absolutely.
So people, it's easy to say get rid of the white God, but okay, I no longer worship the white God, but yet I have white mindset.
You have to replace it with something.
Right, I have white mentality, eat white food. I listen to white music. When I say white food, I don't mean white like a white person made it. I mean foods that are no longer indigenous to who we are.
For sure.
If I travel to East India, the foods there, traditional foods, are still found there. You follow? If I travel to certain places, I'm still going to find indigenous people, but there's tribes in Africa that have been eliminated, that have been eradicated. There's Native American tribes that have been eliminated, has been eradicated. There's South Americans, there's languages that are gone. In 400, 600 years gone. There's people gone. No language, no more trace of them. That's eradication. We have to eradicate these things from ourselves, but that means actually having rules. And in the conscious community, unfortunately, everybody, whether we call ourselves conscious or all the different names, when it comes to rules, no one wants to be told what to do. Everybody wants to do their own thing. Everybody wants to eat what they want to eat. Everybody wants to drink what they want to drink. You can't liberate yourselves like that. When you look at other cultures, how did they liberate themselves? How did the Chinese liberate themselves? They pulled back towards the teachings of Shaolin, and they held that position and said, China first, everybody else, we don't really care how you feel. How did the Japanese liberate themselves? They said, pull back, Code of Bushido, the Yakuza, Emperor is divine, pull back. Japan was flattened. The 1940s, the islands of Japan was flattened back to the Stone Age. And in 50 years, they're in the G8. How did India do it? You understand? How did they do it? They wanted the British colonial rule, but they never let go of their faith system and and unequivocally were not apologetic about how you feel about their faith system. We're always looking for someone to co-sign on what we stand for. We have to embrace, but that means, again, rules. You got to walk a certain way, talk a certain way, do things. Oh man, I can't do all that. That's too. But then we can't be liberated. Liberation calls for rules and the implementation of rules and living a certain way with the goal of this is bigger than me. I know I got maybe 40, 50 laps around the sun, I'm gone. I understand that. Everybody in this room has to understand that about your life. At most, we got 40, 50, maybe 60 laps, and we check out. So, whatever we're working for has to be bigger than this moment. We have to fight for those that came before us to say their life wasn't in vain. And we have to fight for those coming after us saying, if you do it this way. But most people are so self-centered, which is the Euro concept. European concept, me, myself, and I. Indigenous cultures around the globe, from Asia to Africa to South America, is what is best for the whole. What is best for the family. And that's what we're advocating.
Yeah, and I mean, you just said something, I'm going to bring Jammers in now. You said something very interesting about the psychology. You mentioned Phoebe Fuller, who obviously Cress Wilson was inspired by. She popularised this message in a sense. And when we think about the other psychologists like Naim Akbar, you mentioned, I think you alluded to, you didn't say, but Amon Wilson.
Amos Wilson, Marinda Annie, Florida Reams. I mean, the universe has...
No, let me say that these people, and I'm with you 100%, these people have brought an interesting perspective on the sort of black experience in the West, and showing us essentially that the power of freedom is in our minds, basically. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, so now what we have to do, that's why we say atonism, bringing all of those great women and great men and what they taught. How do we bring all of those teachings together as one? Because they're all saying the same thing. And they were all saying the same thing a different way for the same goal, liberation, self-determination, right? How do we bring all those things together? That means we got to change. There's things that we do in our personal life. No, we got to be able to get rid of that. You follow? My brother always talks about it. He says, you know, in Jamaica, how is it the national food of Jamaica is ackee and saltfish is grown here, or it's harvested here? How is our national food in Jamaica not a fish that's indigenous to the waters around Jamaica? Who's done that to us? There's a lot of things we have to change, but the change starts by us first admitting, no matter how conscious we say we are, no matter how many books we say we've read, no matter how many lectures we've attended, until we've implemented what we're saying, it's just talk. It's just like going to the protest and holding up some signs and screaming and yelling and breaking some windows and flipping some cars. Not saying that if you do that, that's not necessary, because sometimes that is necessary to get the attention, but it should be understood on when it's done with a plan for what to do next. You can't do all that and then go eat a KFC, because then we don't win. That's not winning.
I just ask you, in relation to like the Medinetra and ancient practices that we had before, how does what you do? Where do you place yourself? Because before, I just say you do seem like are you actually implementing and maybe redefining what's been done before?
What we say is this, and as far as the Holy Qubtic Church, and I can only speak from where we stand as a Atonis Keresti. When you look at the Meduneta, it's a lot of great things in there. But one of the main peoples who introduced this to the conscious movements were No. Dr. Henry Clark, Dr. Ben Yochanan, and the father of Egyptology, Shekenti Jiak. Okay, so they are the fathers, the scholars who introduced, Van Suddermer introduced us, all Mex off. What did they say about the Meduneta? Did they say stop everything you're doing and live it? Because they understood the translations and who was influencing them. No, but they did say we have a need for a black Bible. You understand?
They said
that's what Dr. Ben wrote a book called The Need for a Black Bible. You understand? So I respect the Meduneta, but until you can show me, and this is what I mean, so you said not you, but until people can show us how implementing it is going to make a generation of engineers, a generation of doctors, a generation of attorneys, right? Because the conscious movement, we are lacking these things. We're lacking these things. In our church, we make sure we have two boys graduating, one mechanical and aeronautical engineering in August, and the other one graduating in pre-med. We have another young man doing chemical engineering. He graduates in 2 years. It's not just talking a doctrine or religion, it's also producing a generation that is not just doctrinally sound, but also economically and socially sound. Because Rel Selwep doesn't just say religion. The next one is economics. But there is no economic. If I get shot right now, if we don't control the ambulance, chances of me making it. Imagine if the ambulances that came to Malcolm X were people that looked like Malcolm X and cared about him. He could still be here. Imagine if the ambulances that came to Dr. King were people that looked like Dr. King, were trained and knew what to do. He could still be here. You understand? So we're not just talking a doctrine. We're saying there's got to be an educational system. We're not anti-education. We're pro-education. But we're saying we need doctors, we need engineers. So we promote our membership getting education as well as a religious background. The East Indian culture does the same. The Chinese culture does the same. So the Meduneta, it's very important as for those who use it, how it's used. But as they're using it, results are going to have to speak. Not just standing and meditating. The Buddhists meditate, but then they also fight back. You know, the Dalai Lama meditates, but he's also speaking about the atrocities that the people are going through in Tibet. The Japanese meditate, they fought, but when the war started, they fought back, and when the war was over, there was a ceasefire and a surrender. How did the Japanese, quote unquote, without a standing military? So implementation, we can grab any book and say this is a good book, but if we don't implement it to bring about success, then it's not.
So how do you put it into action?
Sorry.
Wow. Oh, sorry. He's so caught up on these questions. It's what it is.
I'm calling it, but the phone answer, man.
Seeing everything I do, man. How are you?
Yes, man. Give chance.
Right, man. And the guests, everybody jammers and the guests. I think I spoke to the guests before.
Respect.
It was was he on my workout show before?
Was you on?
Who talking about AJ Farmer?
Or
I heard the guy. I'm not. They just America.
Have you just come from another show?
No.
No, before I heard it before because I'm saying, all right, why have to say one thing? It means Mr. Early because he mentioned Israel. He mentioned Hebrew, right? Hebrew was what Israelites saw that. But the fact say what's the take on that? You mentioned Ashanti because they're both interrelated. Would you agree?
You asking me or Varma, bro?
On the brother.
Yeah,
the brother.
do you understand the question, Ken?
No, I don't.
No, what?
All right. The brother mentioned, I think he mentioned Hebrews are Israelites, right? And he mentioned Santo afterwards. So does he know the two are interrelated?
Well, I didn't mention Hebrews or Israelites, but yes, we do understand when you. Here's part of the problem. We've been reading the Bible, the Quran, and the other texts that have been translated and constructed, the Greek Septuagint, the Latin Vulgate, from the Indo-Aryan or European perspective. When you say Israelite, that is a biblical terminology found in the Hebrew, Greek Septuagint Bible that they put together. Now, is there a relationship? Was Ya Ashanti, or the Ashanti, or the Iwe, or the Fanti, or the Afar, or the Afenti, are they the original tribes of Ishmael, Israel, and Midiani as we as Africans identified? Yes, but is that what the black conscious community is cognizant of? No, because that's
what I'm saying. That's what
right. So that's the reason I wouldn't say they're interrelated, because the moment you say they're interrelated, then you're going into their translation. We've got to get our people to step out of their Bible into our own Bible, and then in our Bible we can explain what things mean to us by our Bible and our standards. The same, if I talk to a Muslim and they read the Quran, the Quran is going to give a perspective based off of the translation, or if you're reading it in Urdu, or if you're reading it in Arabic Fusha, it's going to deal with the language of the people that are reading it to bring about the best for their condition. We're more than just Israelite. We're more than just Ishmaelite. We are the indigenous peoples of the indigenous cultures of this planet. What we do with that reality will depict where our course or our destiny ends up.
Yeah, and can I add that we're more than just Hebrew? I think you've got to remember, Brethren, we've had this discussion enough times.
Yeah, we have.
Not even just the Hebrew, but the God concept. All gods are created by men. Hebrew is created by men. So we have to say, when we say we're Hebrew, first we have to recognize that we can call ourselves Kemetan, Nubian, from Sais, and then we can go into African. But the Hebrew, to me, it's specific. Not every single person in Africa is circumcised, Brethren. So to say African people are Hebrew, it's not accurate. But I'll say that certain Hebrews are African. Absolutely, or
exactly right.
Right.
So how can we as a people educate the youth them to move forward? Because obviously the youth then don't know what's going on, so they're killing each other. Right.
That's
what I need to know.
The way we do it, like I said again, you have to show by your example. When what we're talking tonight, we have farms. We have farms in Bahamas, farms in Trinidad, farms in America. We grow our own goats, our own chickens. We have our own lakes stocked with fish, various types of fish. We build our own urgent cares. We have sisters that are nurse practitioners. We have chiropractors that we are self-contained doing for self. Because again, if I'm finished marching and then I go to KFC, I lose. You follow? And even living here, if I live in London, if I have a backyard, I can grow my own food.
Yes,
anybody can grow tomatoes in their house. Anyone can grow peppers in their house. Anyone can do basic aquaponics or hydroponics, aquaponics in their house.
But brother, can I cut you a second? Sure. Because me and you spoke before. We spoke a couple. I don't know if we spoke before because I'm just saying because I have a guy, right? I used to grow thyme, used to grow scallion, corn in the backyard. That's in England, you know.
Right. So now, what's the next phase?
Right, then Jamaians are going to see, but like the youths here don't know how to grow this. I mean, you agree with me, right? The youths here don't know how to grow. It's a biting. That's what people are going to stop.
No, but let's say this. It's not that the youth don't know how to grow things. If you're doing it, now you have to take it public. There's flea markets. There's places you can take. There's schools you can go to and volunteer an hour twice a week. Shay, let me volunteer my time to show young people. We're going to take a styrofoam cup, some dirt, and some seeds, and we're going to grow this. Let's not buy into the stereotype that our youth are useless. They don't know anything. They don't want nothing. That's the game. That's the stereotype. No other culture does that. You can go to China right now, and there's Chinese youth that are buck wild. But the Chinese society doesn't write them off and say to youth, you can go to India, you can go to Pakistan, you can go all over the world. There's kids that are giving their parents hell wherever you go. But the difference is we as melanin people, we're quick to write them off. The youth can only embrace what they are exposed to. If we don't like the results that the youth are giving us, then we've got to expose them to something different.
Because I was lucky because I was born here, but I spent a lot of time in Jamaica as a youth, and I learned to grow food in Jamaica. My youth said no to grow food and cook and something, but like that's how I grow it back home. Right? And like here, I grow things, you understand?
Right.
So you need to have some minty man there. When you do shows, a minty knows that it's a quite prudent man show that you them for grow things, because when I was school here, I school there first, and like it shows to go like little plant daffodil. I felt so pleased I grew a plant. Imagine at one time me even grow weed in my yard, and my auntie said, well, Mr. What? Because I grow a ganja plant in my yard, you know. And my auntie said, well, Mr. What, I don't say nothing. She never recognized the ganja, I never realized that she know. You understand? So we have the gift, you understand? So I won't keep it long, I let people call in, right? But good show, Minty.
Yeah, give thanks,
yeah.
Yeah, big up yourself, Jackers.
Enough respect.
Yeah, my dear Dougie, what's Supreme Man?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, you know, but you know.
We'll talk to him. I know you have to go through things.
Yeah, alright then.
Alright, give thanks, you know.
One love, bless you.
That you have, because a lot of people, they may be good at one angle or one subject, but I can see that you two really research the topic. But how do you stay ahead of, you know, with the fight that's against us?
Well, it's not putting yourself ahead. It's staying in your lane. There's a great teacher named Dr.A.J. She talks about staying in your lane. Post-traumatic stress, right? So we understand. I'm not trying to get ahead. As I said again, all of us in this room have maybe 40, 50 laps left around the sun. Once you accept that reality, in monotheism, you fear death. In African theology or spirituality, you know, as long as you have children, you're going to live through them. So we didn't have this fear of what's going to happen when I'm gone. Our thing is, do what has to be done so we can pass. It's like playing football. You take the ball, you're driving down the pitch. At some point, you're gonna have to pass it when the defense rolls up on you. And when you pass it, your striker just gotta be in a position to deliver. I'm saying it that way for those who need to hear it that way.
Yeah, well, good
so for us, we're saying it's not a thing of me trying to get ahead or pass the right trying to get in. It's us merely saying, you put your head down, and you do everything you can while you're still breathing, and make sure you're raising young people, whether it's your personal children or the other children that you come in contact with, that when you can no longer make that shot, they can now take it and make the shot for you. That's it. Now, as far as studying, you read everything, but you don't read and accept everything. You read everything and then analyze it.
Of course.
Scrutinize it, question it, dissect it. If it's worth its weight, it can stand there. Analyze it, scrutinize it, criticize it, dissect it, re-put it back, restructure it, and then say, does it work today? That doesn't mean it didn't work yesterday. It doesn't mean it can't work tomorrow. But if it doesn't work today, I don't throw it away. Simply put it on the shelf of things that may be useful tomorrow. What in the conscious community often happens is, if someone doesn't say what I want to hear, I write them off. And that's not African spirituality. African spirituality says you might have something to offer. What you are offering may not be useful at this moment, so we ask you, give us a minute. You understand? That's why, as Dr. Francis Chris Wilson do, nearly fully brought to the world's attention, rel, sel, web. If you don't control your religion, the Jews in Stanford Hill, and now they're moving around here, just right? They control their religion.
That's right.
What do I mean by that? They don't buy from someone who's not Jewish. The Jewish dollar or pound circulates in their community upwards of 20 times. The Chinese community upwards of 30. The Asian community upwards of 25. The black community once. Why? Because our spirituality that we've adapted to, whether it's Judaism, Islam, Christianity, or whatever names that we've gravitated to today, they advocate for us to spend outside of self. If I become Muslim, I gotta go to the mosque and I have to look up to someone from another land that doesn't look like me and hope that they're going to accept me. You understand? If I join the Catholic Church, I have to, for the most part, look at priests and nuns and monsignors that don't look like me and hope that they accept me. We need our own practices that says, this is what we eat. We only eat these things because these are the things that our Bible says are lawful, and these are the things we control and manufacture. You understand? The Jew, if I'm a Jewish person, I go to Beth Shalom or Beth Shlomo synagogue, and I know there's 100 men or families with 100 fathers. I can guarantee selling at least 100 yarmulkes a year. And if each one buys 5 yarmulkes a year, I know I can sell 500 yarmulkes a year, minimal. And if each yarmulke is sold for 20 pounds, I know 20 times 500 is going to give me 10,000 pounds a year. That's a good base business. That's not a hope business. A lot of melanin people, we go into what's called hope business. I'm going to open this one off, and I'm hoping it's going to work out. Other cultures don't do that. They understand group economics. Group economics says, but you won't understand it without a religion that makes you have to understand it. The power of religion is to make us the rules. It's like joining the police department again. It's rules. Without your spiritual directive, you can't make it. No people have ever liberated themselves.
So if you just say that again,
without
people who have got groups and think the groups are going to get there.
They can't, because there's no foundation to the group. What's going to make me not betray him?
Because of rules.
No, you gotta have a religion.
You gotta have a religion.
With rules.
With rules. That's
with
what
culture.
With culture, yeah.
But me and you just reading some books, say, yeah, we both met in Netton, and somebody comes along, a white girl lick me in my ear and give me 1,000 pounds, I'll betray you. But if I'm saying it right, but if my spiritual practice says, I don't even mix with her. I'm only about self and kind. I'm offended if she tries to lick me in the ear. She can't get me.
Because of culture.
Because my culture. It's not saying better than, less than. It's saying what? Your culture or your religion, your spiritual identity.
Yeah, but the
what does it say?
It's a religion and culture.
It's combined together.
We say a true spiritual identity, or a true religious identity. Your religion is your spirituality. Your culture is your identity. Let me tell you what I mean.
Go on.
Schindler's List. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It was produced by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
It was a movie about a list of people that they were killing during the Holocaust. It was done by Steven Spielberg, a Jew, because he understood Jewish identity. He could have done Boys in the Hood, but he doesn't understand black identity. When you let another person that doesn't understand your identity or your cultural difference, then they're going to stereotype you based off of how they are interpreting what you're presenting. So we're saying our true religious identity, our true spiritual practices that we can identify with. It looks like me, it feels like me, it walks like me, it eats what I say we eat, it dresses what I say, not I, me, I mean us, right? It gives us an idea. Then there's liberation. The Chinese, every Chinese restaurant I've ever been to, whether in Liberia, in Ghana, in Togo, in Jamaica, in Trinidad, in Bahamas, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, in America, in London, I walk in, there's always going to be that little cat with his fist going like this. There's always going to be Buddha. He's always sitting in some corner by the register. There's always going to be a picture of the Great Wall of China. They have a cultural identity. Culture, identity, religion, spirituality. So we say atonism, a true religious identity. A true religion that melanin people can identify with, because it's going to have enough of all of the things and all of the components that are necessary. Enough Francis Cress Welsing, enough Marimba Annie, enough Ben Yochanan, enough Malcolm X, enough Madiba Mandela, enough of all of these greats. Each thing, because each one made mistakes, each one did great things. The purpose of history is to not repeat the mistakes, but we can't not repeat the mistakes if we don't first recognize them. We see the great, we're going to repeat those. We see the mistakes. What were the mistakes that were made? Malcolm X made a mistake. What was his mistake? He made a few, but what was the biggest one? He didn't search the people coming to his event. That's a mistake. That's not a mistake we're going to make. So we have a security force, and they are there when we have events to ensure. They say, trust in God, but lock your door. You understand?
Pray to God, but row to the shore.
You understand? So there are different ways of saying it, but we cannot change our condition without rules. Say the word morals.
Morals.
Morals. What's that?
Morals.
Morals.
Yeah.
Morals. The minute they eliminate, eliminate your morals, the rules, you're done.
Well,
It's like living in your mama's house.
But let me say this
Go ahead.
though, Brian, you're right. When I don't know if you've read the book When She Knew Everything's Fall Apart. It's describing that process where, and I'm saying that they had to do this with us because they wouldn't have got nowhere. They had to break our spirituality. With the Indians, they didn't have to, obviously. Let's think about it, because we had a conditioning process through slavery. They got an understanding that we can't just come and take these people because of the resistant movements that happened in the Caribbean, in the Americas. There's still an African idea with these people we can't get rid of. So what we have to do when we go into Africa, we have to send in missionaries to discombobulate the people.
So what must we do?
Let me say this, bro. For me, spirituality has to come out of culture. The culture is the liberty, as you said, the identity, and from the identity you in a group determine how you're going to worship your divinities. So it has to come out. The culture comes first, then the
No,
spirituality.
and the reason Neely Fuller said religion first is the Greeks didn't ask, are we going to attack their culture? The Greeks said, what is the pinnacle of their culture? Their spiritual system. Who are the pinnacle of that spiritual system? The priestesses and priests. Eliminate them first. So we're not saying what our opinion is. We're saying when you study war stratagems, when you study the Punic Wars with Hannibal and Carthage and Cicero, when you study how they attacked it, what did Cicero do? Did he attack the Carthaginian culture, or did he attack the Carthaginian religion? He attacked their religion.
But the religion, what I'm saying is the religion comes from the culture. So
No.
Hold on, Bridget. When you go and attack a people, right, you're attacking their lifestyle, spirituality, and the way you worship is very much part of your lifestyle. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you go to every African society, they do things slightly differently. So obviously, it's from the group where the spirituality is developed.
Right, I agree with that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, it's not where you and I are seeing it from. Where does the enemy see it from? You cannot eliminate your conditions of your enemy. That was one of the mistakes we made. We were trying to use ma'at when dealing with people who didn't even understand the concept of ma'at. That doesn't make sense. You can't say, I'm going to do reciprocity. I'm going to be balanced with everyone I deal with. And then the person stealing your land doesn't believe in that. I'm saying when they came at us, they said, like you said, send in the missionaries. So what did they see as important? The spirituality, the religion. You go right here to the British Museum. They have a massive text. They say it's the oldest text of spirituality on the planet. It's called the Shabaka Stone. Well, this Shabaka, and I'm not saying this, but the British scholars say, so it must be true because they're white, right? Okay, right. But this Shabaka Stone says that your spiritual or religious identification is that which births your culture. You understand?
So can you repeat that?
Your spiritual or religious identification is that which births your culture. Now, cult. What does culture mean? To cultivate.
Yes.
But what do you cultivate?
You cultivate your spirituality,
No.
your lifestyle.
No, let me finish. I'm going somewhere.
Okay, go on.
If I'm a gardener, if I'm a person working in a lab and I'm working with a culture doesn't come out of thin air. A culture, if I'm taking milk or if I'm taking a bacteria and I'm going to make a culture to make an inoculation or a vaccination to cure a disease, I have something that predates. Culture, cultivate. You can't cultivate the ground with just saying the word culture. You cultivate the ground with seed, water, earth, fire, wind. So there's elements and components. Those elements and components would be the spirituality, the personality. I'm using the word again.
Okay,
the word spirit. We have the etymology gentleman here. The word spiritos, it means personality. What gives me a personality? Your RNA. Your DNA gives you an emotional reaction. So my personality, your personality is the spiritos. The person. But what makes this person? My mother and father. What made them? Their mother and father. And what made them? Their mother. And what was the pinnacle? As we said in the very beginning, the Japanese. What is the thing that saved them? Was it Japanese culture, or was it the teachings of Bushido? Was it the teachings of Kamikaze? Was it the teachings of the spiritual Shinto? The Chinese culture, Xiao Zhen. They took the writings of a man, Xiao Zhen, later another man, Confucius, later Mao Zedong. So they took writings, the Red Book. The Communist Party of China said, Red Book, Mao Zedong, we're going to follow this book. The power of a book is the book can transcend lands. It can go where you and I can't go. You and me need a visa to come here. If I'm coming from America to visit, I need a visa. But a book can be put in the mail and sent anywhere in the world. It can permeate borders. So the power of the pen, they say the pen is mightier than the sword. So they put effort into writing books, scriptures, Bible, Quran, Vedas, Upanishad, Kama Sutra, books to tell you about sexuality of everyone else's opinions. Shabaka understood that. He had some papyruses, worn wooden, worn out. We're going to put these in stone so our children one day can pick it up. The power of the book. The book establishes the personality. And then when enough of us have that personality, now we got a culture. As an individual, I don't have a culture. If I'm just by myself in my room and I know all this information, is that a culture? No. It only becomes a culture when I can pass it to my children and give it to my wife and give it to my nephew. So the group has to be present. That's tribalism. When the group comes together, the culture is established by the group. Individual, spirituality. Culture, group. I'm just going again.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue with again. You have a right to see what you see. I have a right to see.
Sure.
But where I'm coming from again is I'm not talking what we're saying. I'm telling you what we're doing. See, when we first started, it was me and him. 15 years almost ago we started. It was just me and him. Now we're thousands globally. Farms, businesses, urgent cares. So it's working. So that's all I can say. I can only speak for what's working.
Yeah, no, and you know, like as my man said, if you're arrested, you're arrested. So there's obviously different ways of doing things. But for me, the culture has to develop the spirituality, because you can't cultivate anything, right, without an idea of what you're trying to cultivate, so without agreements of people. And when we think about before the God concept existed, there was just nature gatherers, nature people who just observed nature, and hunter-gatherer societies they were called. They didn't have a concept of God.
That's not true.
They had, hold on.
They had the mother goddess.
Hold on.
Every indigenous people had the mother goddess.
Can I make my point? I'm saying that they had a concept of nature, and from observing nature and understanding nature, that's where spirituality was born. It was observing nature. That's how spirituality was born. The Africans did it. And if you look at Akhenaten, who's a great example, from the ideas that came from the people who came before him, Amun-Ra, etc.
The
Shabaka stone was from before. It was from before Shabaka.
No, I know that.
He just rediscovered it.
He lived by the Atenist text.
Yeah, no, I'm not arguing. Who did?
Akhenaten.
Okay, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is that Akhenaten developed his idea from the culture of the people before him. He saw what they were doing and he said, I'm going to change it. And from that culture he developed his form of spirituality.
So which culture would you advise for today?
No, hold on. It's
just a question.
All I'm saying is that we just see things differently. I'm not disputing what you're saying. I love what you're saying for the most part, King. All I'm saying is that I see things slightly different from the culture, spirituality and spirituality culture from what you're talking about. But that's okay. It's not an issue in any way. The culture, it's difficult because in Africa there's many different revelations of culture, but there's things we have in common, which you know: ancestor worship, nature veneration, respecting of elders, certain things we have in common. So they're the things I think that we should be grasping onto. Those things in common, and then we can, as you said, build from the greats like Cresswellson, Neely Fuller, Marcus Garvey. Absolutely, bro. So I'm saying I'm with you. I just disagree with the culture. The culture and spirituality aspect, that's all. You know, but let me read some text and I'm going to let Dougie come in. Okay, this is from 1A4 and it says, do you know any heavy D rap rhythms that incorporate the words of Sweet Jesus and Slave Ship? I don't think so at all, man. Brother Curtis, evening brothers, my question to Reverend J.J. Yarma is, how do we control and bring back Christianity to the Nubian race from a Greco-Roman philosophy? That's for you, brother.
Oh, it's not just bringing back. When you say Christianity, when you say Judaism, or what they call monotheistic belief system, it's not how do you bring it back. It's first understanding that your original Christian or Hebraic or Islamic African ways were hijacked. It's called identity theft. Someone has stolen your identity, restructured. It's like if I steal your national ID number and I steal your information, I don't just steal it and then go get credit cards sent to your house. I have to steal it and create an alternate identity to have it delivered to my house so I can use it. So what we're looking at today is the monotheistic faiths are a bleaching of the indigenous African true religious identity that's being given to us. So we're not trying to take it back. We're simply saying, be what you were. Reclaim who you are, but not trying to be them. I'm not trying to be Jewish. You follow? The people that are calling themselves Jews are Jewish. They're the ones who, that's the religion and it works for them. I'm not trying to be that. Are there aspects of that religion that are African in principle? Yes. Well, those aspects we simply take back and restructure it, repay the favor. Someone came in, took your identity, and you're squeamish on how to take it back. You don't want to offend the person who offended you when they stole your identity. The guy stole your credit card, he ran up $100,000. And now you know where they are, and you say, well, I don't know, should I go? I don't want to offend them. I'm like, no, we're not trying, I'm not trying to be Eurocentric Christian. I'm embracing the word Christ for the person who texted in. The word Christ, Christos in Greek, it comes from an African word, karest. And this word karest, ka, the divine African spirit, rest, head. Like you say Ras, Rais in Arabic, Ras, Rasta, all those words that everyone uses, it means head. So, but we had a system, as you mentioned, Uncle Natson, every time you see him, his hands are raised to the sun. He wasn't worshiping the sun. These people did brain surgeries and eye surgeries and heart surgeries, and you think they worship the sun? No, they put in iconography or they did drawings or depictions to say the sun is the biggest source of energy, so they said they saw it as a visible manifestation of the Most High. That's all. He wasn't worshiping the sun or the rain or the moon. That's someone interpreting our identity so that we can be made to disconnect from our identity so that they can then claim that same identity. Make you see the Egyptians, the Yoruba, the Ashanti, the Zulu as pagans, so they can then steal it and Christian Bale can be Moses or, you know what I'm saying? And they can substitute. But that's how it works. We reclaim who we are by simply living it. We had our own fasting period, the Days of Atonement, every year from May 21st to June 20th. Our members globally fast. Every year, May 21st, June 20th. Our High Holy Day, the High Holy Day of Atonement, June 20th. We stay up from 9 to about a little after midnight, singing praises and chants in our own language, Tamarei. Every year after that, for 10 days, we feast called Rosh Hashanah. Not Rosh Hashanah, that's their own thing, but they get it from Rosh Hashanah, the Rosh Hashanah. Every year we have what's called Fisak Shemo, the Atonement Passover, representing the so-called assassination of Asaru and his resurrection through the DNA. Like we have foreparents that were assassinated, and we must be those ancestors revived. We have our own rituals. We have our own fasting, our own food, our own Sabbath or Shabbat. We do our own thing. You follow? That's for the caller. The way you do it is, again, rules. You've got to, I said this to people, we say this everywhere we go. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine. But get in the fight.
Right.
Find an organization that's doing things and get to doing things. Because all the talking is nice. Feel good sermons, feel good message. But if you don't have a way of getting water, if you don't have a way of growing food, if you don't have a way of educating your own children, if you don't have a way of owning your own businesses, if you don't have a way of having your own medical personnel, you and I don't exist. We're not in the game. How can you be in the game and you're not able to cover those things that are base necessities? The indigenous peoples of this planet understood that. And that's what we're advocating. We've got to get back to that. There is no reclaiming without it.
Okay. Well, this is just music to the ears, A.J. Varma, and really it's just power and enlightenment. But I just want to ask a question, and the question I'm asking, based on a conversation I had yesterday, and how do we raise a level of vibration? A level of vibration. The reason why I'm saying it because based on what's happening, there's been a lot of events was taking place, like in West London, the fire and this and that, and there's been bombing and etc. And people focus around that, and what happens is that your energy goes really down, right? And one of the things we should be doing, right, How do we raise our vibration?
We do what that gentleman on the wall right underneath that picture,
Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. There were wars going on in 1913. Wasn't it? There was famine. Wall Street had crashed. He focused inward. We say it all the time. My job, his job, our job. Thomas Pedestrians, we say we focus on those who are focusing on what we're focusing on. We don't get sidetracked. I'm not getting, oh, we're going to do this thing over here. You want to come? No. Why? That's not my lane. My lane is where I'm at.
That's right.
You follow? Because if not, then your energy gets dispersed. And then you get nothing done. You put your head down. It's like becoming a doctor. When I was doing pre-med, I had to stay up at night. I took a bucket of ice water, put it on the floor, stuck one foot in, the other foot out. When this foot got real frozen and numb, took it out the bucket, stuck the other foot in. I had friends say, yo, we going to this party, you coming? Nope, I'm good. Put your head down until you accomplish your goal. So it's the same thing today. We have to stop letting our energies get scattered all over the place, because everybody has a way of telling what's the right, what's the wrong. So you find those like yourself that have a common interest, a common goal, and you put your heads down and you work until you achieve that goal, and then you can look up and think about helping others. You can't help yourself. If you can't help yourself, how can you help anyone else? You follow what I'm saying? So that's what I'll think. If you are a person listening in and you don't agree with what we're saying, that's fine. The Nation of Islam's out here, they're doing some stuff, work with them. Akubaland's out here doing some stuff, work with them. Find someone who's doing something and put your energies into that thing. But our problem is oftentimes in the conscious community is we treat it like it's a deli. We treat it like it's a buffet. We go to this group and that group and that group, and every week we're at another group asking questions or trying to do things, and we don't get anything done that way. You hone your energy. If you play for Arsenal, you don't be trying to worry about what Manchester Man U's doing. You focus on what you're doing. And that's what we're saying. Nothing new. Everyone else is doing it. Green Street wouldn't exist if the people on Green Street didn't focus on Green Street. Did they see other stuff going on around them? Yes. But you know what they said? That's not our situation. Stanford Hills didn't get built by someone worrying about what was going on in Tottenham. They focused on Stanford Hill. They said that's not our lane. We can help those who are like us. And that's what the conscious community, we have to get to a point where we decide what's the way. I don't have to agree with it. But if this is the way that's going to work, I don't have to agree with everything Marcus Garvey said or did, or Elijah Muhammad, or you don't have to agree with anything I said. But if it's working, that I can agree with. I can agree with what's working. You understand? And we do it every day. That's the strange thing. When you play sports, your coach tells you to run a play, you run it. You work a job, they tell you jump, you jump. Oh, I don't do. Yes, you do. You do. Because you complain about the job every day when you get home. The next morning you get up and you go there. But when it comes to us being told what to do by another person, a man or woman that looks like us, now we're back to the problem. I don't want no black person telling me what to do. You understand? I don't want anyone that looks like me telling me what to do, even if it's working. Marcus Garvey had over 1 million people, but he should have had hundreds of millions. But the people were caught up in what he looked like. He looked like them. That's that slave conditioning because of the religion of others. When you're worshiping other people's religions that never show you in a positive light, then you can't accept anything that looks like you as being positive.
I just want to endorse what you said. It's basic, because as animals or human species, we've all got basic needs. The basic needs is what we should be uniting us. Basic needs are survival, education, family. But what happens is the Europeans giving us words, and they use words in a different way than we use words. They use words to divide us. So we've got to stop focusing on the word, because we end up arguing over the word and dismissing our basic needs. Well, like what you were doing, you're satisfying a lot of the needs that we need to do. So I'm saying people should come down and support. Excellent show. Big up Rob and big up Pastor Wright. And this is what we've got to do. They're multi-talented. We have to widen our horizon and start to look at the sciences, look at every angle, and read until you can't read anymore. Thank you for having me down here. Big up Supreme. Hope everything's good with you.
Yeah, man, enough respect from Supreme. Big up, man. Master D's gonna come in next. I want to just say, stay positive, stay hopeful, stay blessed. You heard what these brothers were coming with. We have to look within ourselves. This is the message I always give on our show. Brother Dougie says the same thing. jammers, all of us say that's the new wave that's taken over our people. There's no sky god, sorry, no more texts or calls, man. That's no sky god, no more. The divinity you're looking for is within yourself. So until next time, I'm going to see you again on Tuesday. My name is Rasminti. I'll be back on my show Tuesday evenings 8 till 10. Every Tuesday evening we have the same type of talk. Next week I'm sure Supreme will be back. If he's not back, I'll be here. Enough